Simply put, we love making the brands that you love. And we've operated this way since Milton Hershey started this business more than a century ago in a town known as the sweetest place on earth. We are incredibly proud that what we do often becomes a part of your moments of goodness, big and small. Your smiles make us smile. We like to think of goodness as our currency, reminding us that goodness is never lost, especially when given from one person to another. And eventually, it finds its way back. The world will continue to change around us, something we welcome, because we're changing with it and you. But in change, some things hold true. We know what we do matters because it matters to you. And that's not going anywhere because our passion is rivaled only by our desire to make more moments of goodness.
Okay, so let's talk about resilience by design. So resilience is a top trend topic and something that we all are struggling. No? So in one of the sessions this morning, I was talking about, hey, sometimes you get this question, oh, should we work on cost or resilience? Well, that's like asking, do you like your mom or dad? No? So there is no option here. You have to work with both. So the topic here will be building a future-proof supply chain in an age of never normal. No? So it's what we're living today. And if you think about the disruption or the never normal, think about your supply chain as this suspension bridge, not a fortress. No? So a fortress is built to keep the danger out. It's designed to be heavy, rigid, and it's designed for one type of threat. No, it's the traditional risk management. So it's planned for your known risks. You have your fixed space to attack the enemy, and this is what you have. No? And when you think about the suspension bridge, it's very different. No? It flexes, and it adapts for temperature, for weather, for load, for even an earthquake. No? So it's designed not only to survive, but to keep functioning. So it's resilience engineering. No? So it's by design. And in this time of perpetual transformation or disruption, you can talk about geopolitics, you can talk about tariffs or colors or whatever. No? So we have to be designed or design our supply chain to this type of uncertainty. And I'll go for some examples, real examples, what we've done throughout the network. I hope that you engage, because here I'll not get into details that I cannot share, of course, but a lot of things that has been a very interesting learning for our process, both on people, process, and technology. So for those who like mythology, I love mythology, and this is a topic that I have with my daughter. So this is the Hydra, and in the Greek mythology, this is the second task for Hercules, that he had to kill the Hydra. The Hydra is a monster with 9 heads, serpent head, like head, that when you chop it off, not only it comes back, but comes back even stronger. So it comes 2 heads when you cut 1 head. So this is the example of anti-fragility. If you read the book from Taleb, the example that he gives on, so it's not only bouncing back when you face adversity, but it's bouncing back and coming even stronger. So sometimes in supply chain, we go for the flavor of the season. And remember that we used to have every company working on your value stream mapping, understanding what are the losses that you have in your supply base, in transportation, et cetera, et cetera. You calculate your takt time, and you start eliminating all the losses throughout your network, from suppliers of your supplier to your customer or consumer. And then COVID came. And we moved from this extreme of being perfectly synchronized just in time to go to a just in case. And everybody was talking about just in case. Let's have bounded warehouse just in case. Let's have more suppliers. Let's have dual sourcing or dual manufacturing. So it was nodes of resilience, of redundancy on top of other, no? And in reality, it's not one or another. And there is, unfortunately, there is not a perfect answer here. So we as professionals, we need to know how to manage risk and find what is the right sweet spot between the two of them. No? So where do you need to have resilience? Where do you have to have redundancy? And where you're okay to take risks and move more into this just in time. 80% of leaders say that resilience is as important as cost and service. No? So how do you design this in your DNA? Then the second topic, why is it important now? We talk about resilience, but if you see some examples. So Walmart, they have 420 million SKUs. Amazon, they have 600 million SKUs. eBay, they have 2.3 billion SKUs. This morning we're talking about McCormick with 17,000 SKUs, I don't remember the exact number. Dollar General, 12,000 SKUs. The common thing is they don't complain about number of SKUs. The important thing is to know what is the role that each SKU has to play, and if it has a role to play with customer and consumer, swallow it. So you have to cope with the complexity and design your supply chain to cope with it. No? Not complain about your level of complexity. And the third one is the amount of data that the human beings are creating, it's being exponential. And if you think that today, 2025, in 1 year, we are creating 100 zettabytes of data. This is equivalent of 25 billion high-definition movies of data every year. So with this level of data, you can create a lot of paralysis. No? It's impossible for a human to ingest, make sense, make decisions, and move forward. No? So this is why we have to design our supply chain to have sometimes human out of the loop, because you have technology that is helping you to make sense of things that you cannot ingest and make decisions. When you think about complexity, you have to think about end-to-end. No? So there is no way for you to address one node of your supply chain. And starting with your ingredient, it's not only going for the traditional and normal, easy way out that, okay, so I'll not have a single source, I'll have a dual source or 3 sources for each of my material, and that's it. No? At Hershey, what we're doing is we are working, of course, with source diversification, but also we are designing our formulation to be more resilient. In some cases, we just found out that we have, for one color, we have 12 variants of the same color. Why do you need 12 different reds? No? So can you simplify and design your formula to be less complex? And this was by chance. No? So hey, someone from R&D created a formula 30 years ago, and then another 10 years ago, another 5 years ago, and it was their special red. And the other thing is, how do you manage not only solving for today, but also investing for the future? And I think we have a good example from Danone on it's both investing on your short-term gains, but also investing on your future. No? So in our case, we are investing on education for the kids. We are investing on the families, because we know that if the wife is not present, the husband will stop working on the farming, and he will spend all the money on women and alcohol. No? So this was proven, and what we have to do is we have to invest on the family, we have to invest on education, and we have to invest on the good practices for farming. So going there and explaining that you have to do pruning, you have to use fertilizers, you have to take your money and invest on fertilizers. And this is an investment that you're not seeing today. Or when you see a disease in a tree, you have to cut this tree You have to shop these three because you will not see an impact in the short term, no? Because the productivity of these three will be 100% this year, 95 next year, but eventually it will spread the disease, no? So investing on education and investing on R&D and cocoa science has been something that we are putting money, not for today, but for 20, 30, 40 years. So we have today, this year, the highest cocoa price ever. My role is how can I prevent this from someone in 40 years to say, hey, who was this Douglas that came here and didn't do anything about the problem that he was seeing coming? Same for manufacturing, no? So not only having it, because it's very hard, and sometimes, or many times, you cannot justify to have 2 plants for each type of SKU. But you can invest on autonomous maintenance, progressive maintenance, or predictive tools, no? So, and also, the more you can engineer in your operation to be more late product differentiation, and you have a vanilla process that you just put complexity at the end of the process, the more resilient you can be. Or the other one is, how can you create an organization that are investing on your people, and your mean time between failure or mean time to repair will be shorter and shorter, so you can bounce back from hiccups. This is a topic that I really have a passion about, no? So we call it Hershey Smart Complexity. And Smart Complexity is a program that we have to co-lead between supply chain, finance, and commercial, no? And this is impossible for you to manage by one function alone without collaboration. And here we have 3 pillars. One is more from the core, and more from the core is we have some assets that are invested, that are available, and that we have capacity and capability installed. Offer to your commercial partners, why don't you take SKUs or volume from what's existing? No? So offer, hey, I can produce more of this and this, and these are the list of SKUs that I can produce at a lower cost. Don't go for the shiny object that I need to create a new command or put a new line or bring more complexity. No? So this is one pillar. And we force this conversation, and the intention is to have this tension and this conversation about, hey, I have X million dollars of available capacity idle, use it. The second pillar is adjust the equation. Supply chain, we don't take only that, hey, I need my customer X, they need a new SKU because we're getting to this season and they need a new novelty, no? Is this the easy way out, or is this a symptom of another disease, no? So what we're doing for this one is, what is the percentage of ACV for an SKU? What is the margin contribution for each SKU? What is the velocity that each SKU is having? And then you can challenge them on, okay, so if you have a lower than average margin, but the velocity is still okay, shouldn't you price before just throwing 100 stones and try to kill a bird, no? So forcing this type of conversation. And again, I'll get in the end up talking about capability, no? We as supply chain practitioners, we have to be able to talk with the CFO as if we were from finance, and talk to the commercial folks as if we were from the commercial area, no? So having this level of understanding of the business will force us to avoid having some complexity. And the third pillar, and for me this was the breakthrough, no? It's very hard to make a decision to undo a bad decision, no? So hey, let's eliminate this amount of SKUs because they are not non-performing. But you can prevent, sorry for my French, shit from happening. We have very strong guardrails and governance for what are the new SKUs that are coming. So in our PLM process, we have sales coming and saying, hey, I need this specific, custom-specific SKU for this customer. Do I really need it? So what is the role to play of this SKU? What is the margin contribution? Is this a dilutive margin? So if it's important for customer, are consumers and customer willing to have a higher price and have this as at least an average margin that goes to your threshold, no? So if it passes through this sniff test for the 1, 2, 3, Then we have a very important role that is supply chain and supply chain alone. Now, so how do you design back your supply chain to cope with this complexity? Now, so again, 600 million SKUs for Walmart, or $420 million SKUs for Walmart. They don't complain, but they cope with this complexity. How do we cope with this complexity? So this example here, we created our Agile Fulfillment Center, where we have an automation that we can flex and create what is the right mix and size of cases that are the right one for each location. One example, we partner with Dollar General. Now, Dollar General, they have 20,000 stores in US, and they classify in 3 different types: small, medium, and large places. Now, for our milk chocolate, the rotation that we have in the small stores is 1 bar per week. In the large stores, it's 1 per day. I cannot have the same 36 count case for these 2 locations. I have to understand what is the velocity that I have in each location and design for the consumption I have in this location. So one is, how can I partner and understand my customer as well as they understand our consumers to design in a way that I won't have waste. No? In the past, I used to have 36 counts for everybody. And then after 36 weeks, guess what? I have a lot of product that expired, sent back, waste, problem for environment, problem for cost, problem for everybody. So by understanding what is the exact consumption by each location, by each customer, I can design what is needed for them and have a loss prevention and design my supply chain to be agile and more designed for less issues. No? Now, I can go for many, many examples on technology, but I just want to give some tips here, and we can engage on anything that you want to know about what we're doing on technology for sourcing, for planning, for make or delivery. But sometimes we get obsessed about the new shiny object. I want to put AI, and everybody's talking AI, so I might be missing out. I need to put AI. No, start with the problem, not with technology. Understand what is the problem you're trying to solve. And then if technology is a good solve, you use technology to solve for your problem. The second one, and this was a very important learning for me when we implemented decision intelligence. Don't try to boil the ocean. Sometimes your board, your leadership do not understand what we're talking about. It's something that is very new for the industry. If you say that, hey, I want to transform and have this technology here doing the job that humans used to do, it will be confusing and people will not embrace. So we're going for pilots. Everybody loves pilots, no? So go for a small pilot, prove the case, have a strong ROI, and then you go for the next one, the next one, the next one. Everybody can embrace and can take risk on pilot. Nobody can take a risk of let's boil the ocean and implement AI for everything we do end to end. And the last one is implementing technology is as much as on technology as it is with people. Actually, it's more important on people. The biggest challenge I have is on change management. When I ask people to click this button, give this recommendation, and machine learning will start learning and becoming smarter, the question I get is, hey, AI will replace me, or I'm teaching a machine to be smarter than I am, and I'll lose my job. No? So if you don't explain why we're doing and what's in there for you, they will not be part of the journey. No? And I used to say, AI will not replace you. Someone using AI might replace you. So let's embrace. I will invest on upskilling because I want you to be part of this journey. Let me go deeper on decision intelligence. No? So let me start with this picture. Some of you might have heard this story. So the supply chain of the future will have 2 employees, a man and a dog. The dog is there to make sure that the man will not touch any equipment. And the man is there just to feed the dog. Of course, this is an exaggeration, but I think that decision intelligence is the most important change on technology for supply chain that is moving us from supply chain 4.0 to what I think is the supply chain 5.0. And the reason I say this is, remember that 100 zettabytes of data or 25 billion high-definition movies of data that is generated every day. A lot of things that comes in our way, it's impossible for us to do or to execute. You just go for the 20 in the 80-20. With decision intelligence, what we're doing is, first, we are putting all the data and all the information in the same place. So we implemented S/4HANA, and we place all the information in a way that is organized in libraries, and we have a strategy to cleanse the data. Then we start bringing customer data and suppliers data. Every data for me is gold, and I'm trying to direct connection with suppliers, direct connection with customers. Every time I have a top-to-top, I ask them, how can we have a partnership that I will have your data to help me and to help you? So I don't have to forecast. I can see real-time what's going on there. No? So we have a project called Thrive 2.0, which is I have not real-time, but almost real-time. Several times a day, I have a picture of the shelf, and I know when consumers are taking our product from the shelf, so I can optimize the flow from the back room of our customer to the shelf, from their warehouse to the back room, from our distributor to their warehouse, and to our warehouse to their distributor. No? So if I have real-time data, I don't need to predict the future. And you know, every supply chain professional knows that our forecast is always wrong, and it will always be wrong. So the more data I have, real-time data, the better I am on predicting. So again, first we are trying to get all the data in one place. And then we have a strategy to optimize for plan, source, make, deliver. So for my procurement, what is my strategy for my digital strategy? What is my digital strategy for MES, for advanced planning solution? We just implemented Kinaxis. For my warehouse management system and my transportation management system. And on this one, I have the traditional supply chain 4.0. My node is optimized. I have technology that on advanced planning solution, I will ingest data on demand. I have a good recommendation on supply. I have scenario planning, et cetera, et cetera. But then I have decision intelligence that is a bolt-on solution that sits on top of my end-to-end. And what it does is it will ingest data from my data lake, make a recommendation from machine to machine. I will move from, I used to have human in the loop doing the task, to have human on the loop for 20% of things that I have to pay attention. I will have a red flag or a yellow flag saying, Douglas, this recommendation, pay attention, because this is risky, or because here I need you to think differently. I'll give one example. We just announced pricing, and there was one customer asking for 5 times what they used to ask. If you have your advanced planning solution, they will have, I have a demand, please supply. No? So balance between demand and supply, produce more and ship. The yellow flag was, hey, something is fishy here. They don't sell this much. They might be hedging for the lower price. They are trying to buy before, and you have less margin because they are just hedging ahead of time. Yellow flag, this is where I want planners to pay attention, because this is something that is not machine to machine. The other 80%, I have what I call human out of the loop. It is, my line is running with OE that is higher than normal. It will trigger replenish of material. Send more corrugate. I don't need someone to replenish or ask, send me corrugate. I have another order for Walmart in the East Coast. I don't have enough material here in the East Coast, but I have in the Midwest. The decision to, should I produce more or send material from one warehouse, repack and send here, I don't need nobody to take this action. Machine can talk to machine and make decisions. So this is what we're doing with decision intelligence. We started, and in 90 days, 90 days, we had the payback for the investment. The tough part for me was how to convince my board, how to convince my boss, how to convince the executive committee that I will have 80% of every activity, every task that we do day to day, you will not see. Then do you want to be right, or do you want to know why you're wrong? I want to be right. I want to have the right outcome. I don't want to have explainability for everything. I don't want to have a planner clicking in everything. If machine can make decisions, and I put a threshold of 85% of times, it's better than a human being, just automate. Then, talking about people and skills, no? So early in my career, I learned that for you to be a good end-to-end practitioner of supply chain, you have to work in every function on supply chain. So I worked in procurement, quality, manufacturing, planning, logistics, customer supply chain, innovation, engineering. And then later on, ESG became very important, stakeholder management, negotiation, multi-geography experience. You have to know how to work in US and Europe and Asia. So this was part of the toolkit to become a very broad thinker on supply chain end-to-end. Then last year, that was a group of data scientists in the 0100 forum. They took 500 applications for top jobs from 2022 to 2024. And there was a 25% decrease on requirement for everything that I mentioned. Everything that I learned in my life that this is important, that was a 1/4 of drop on this requirement. And the reason is that it was becoming like the baseline. So this is what is expected for every supply chain end-to-end. But what's changed is that there is a 50% increase on these business skills and these digital skills. So again, no? So a lot of examples I gave here. You have to be able to have a conversation with your CFO as if you were from finance. You have to have a good conversation with your sales or commercial officer as if you were from sales, as if you understand the P&L as well as they understand. No? So these skills, on business skills, understand, have system thinking, have a good storytelling to drive the organization on the change management, and on, and understand blockchain, AI, machine learning. You don't need to be to know how to code, although I'm training and learning how to code, but you have to understand where can you use blockchain in your supply chain? Where can you use machine learning and AI? So the invitation here is, are you getting up to speed on technology? Are you getting your organization up to speed on technology? What is the effort that we are doing to bring the organization to what it will be the supply chain of the future? No? I used to hear from one of my mentors that the grade of today is not good enough for tomorrow. So having this fire in the belly and understanding that every day that I don't study this, I'm becoming more obsolete. And to finish, so very often we build supply chain to be efficient on calm waters, no? And then we suffer, we scramble when we have some storms, no? And the resilience by design is just like a submarine, no? It's engineered from day one to operate under pressure, to adapt into motion, and function in deep uncertainty. It's not to design if something happens. It's to design when something happens, but because it will happen, no? So the new normal is that we will have more and more and more disruption. The difference is that the cycle is shorter and the impact is higher, no? But we'll keep having this type of uncertainty and shocks. With that, I just want to thank you for paying attention for the whole day, engaging, great questions. We have here 5 minutes for questions. I can answer anything. I just can't go for financials of the projects, but everything else I can give. Please.
Yeah, in terms of demand planning, what level of on-shelf availability do you have visibility to what are the retailers giving you from a visibility perspective to the quantity on shelf? How advanced is that? I hear things that sound pretty wild. I'm just kind of curious from your perspective what that looks like.
Great question. So one thing as a background, I stopped sharing case fill rate. And I had an educational process with my team and with my commercial counterparts that case fill rate is a leading indicator. I just use this to predict what will be my on-shelf availability. On-shelf availability, I have different expectations from different customers. My target is 98.5%. This is what Walmart, our largest retailer, asked for us because this is the threshold that when you have more than this, you start generating waste. So the sweet spot between having perfect service and not generating waste on shelf or product that will expire is 98.5. So this is the measure we have. Now, what I envision for the future, imagine that you have 5 faces for a product, for Reese's. If I have these 5 faces and I have only one and the other 4 are empty, I have on-shelf availability. However, the consumer are going there and they're seeing an empty space. They might not put attention and buy because 80% of the space is not available. For me, this is out of shelf. So my next step is how can I get insights from flow, from the back room to the shelf? How can I make sure that if I have a real estate, 5 faces on the shelf, I have to be 5 faces all the time. And I need to learn if the problem is that I'm not getting the product on time to the back room or the product is flowing from the shelf faster and the replenisher are not bringing product from the back room to the shelf. So this is my next stage on how can I be not only on shelf, 98.5%, but every phase that I have, that I earned, I have to be there. What else? Still have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I think that in the last 50 years, we were started looking at quality as a cost, and then we started understanding that quality is not against performance and cost. Actually, it's part of that. Then we moved to sustainability, and to think that sustainability is an additional cost for the company, and still there is controversial thinking on that. Is that resilience the third in this wave of thinking that resilience is an additional cost for the supply chain, and how to change this paradigm?
Yes, it's everything is how do you want to define the problem, no? And I like your push here. So in my previous company, we used to have this first and second moment of truth. No? You having a higher quality is a way for you to make sure that consumer will love your product and will come back to buy your product. No? One of the things that we do at Hershey is that we know what is the best time that consumer will have the best experience, which is different from product to product. I know that a Kit Kat, 90 days is the best time. Between 90 days and 120 days is the best time for consumers to have it. 90 days for Reese's. Doesn't matter for Twizzlers. Actually, the fresh Twizzlers is not perceived as good as the one that is more matured. So having an understanding what is the best timing for the product to be on shelf, that consumers will feel the freshness and love the product and come back, it's a way to leverage top line with quality. Same for sustainability, and I think your example was great. No? So the consumer will buy your product or stop buying your product because of the way you're treating the nature or the environment and the way that they will see the world for their kids and grandkids. No? Again, I gave the example on this young man coming to me and say, Douglas, if you don't have a good way to treat Pampers, I will not come to work for you. And I think that resilience, can be a cost or investment, no, depending on how you look. And it's not going for the extreme on just in case, but what are the right investments that you can bring to finance and to the commercial and say, these are the places that we have enduring trend that this is a place that always have disruption. So invest here. Here, it's very stable. We have Hershey syrup. I know that my demand is like this. I have lines that are very stable, low changeover, high OE, but I have others that I have to have more resilience, and it's better to invest there. Great question. So we close the time here. Thank you. Thank you very much for your engagement. I'll be outside if you want to engage in other things. Thank you.